5, 4. We are live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Our welcome to No Snobs or Knobs. And today we are a little bit dressed more than normal because we are doing James Bond today. And Riz's idea was to pick out a villain and a Bond girl.
Dr. Stephen, we have been expecting you.
Yes, we have been expecting us. Thank you very much. So we are Cigars, and just so I did a cane because I thought it would be interesting to do a cane. So I'm doing a nice cane cigar.
Okay.
I was going to smoke a Cuban, but I figured and I'm doing a Glen Fargus 40-year-old.
I am doing the Ron Diplomatico.
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
And I can't help it. I've got to go Cuban. I'm going with this excellent Juan Lopez Exclusivo Libano, which has been sent to me by a friend in Saudi Arabia. This cigar's had a journey. It's gone from Cuba to Lebanon, hypothetically to Lebanon, to Saudi, to the UK. So it's a journeyed cigar. It's an exotic cigar, and hence the exotic villains.
Yes. Well, I figured cane is not something people smoke every day, so it was the most exotic one. There were some really cool ones I had in my humidor, and then, of course, the pre-embargo Cubans, and I was like, what would be good for a Bond? Not just, I liked it, the Cubans. I was like, I said, you know what? I think a cane, because not a lot of people have ever heard of them or smoked them, and they're rare and they're very good. So it's a new world cigar, as they say.
In the way of James Bond, you get sent on assignment to various locations, and cane is your location. There you go. Cigar of choice.
There you go. So today, everybody, we are going to pick Bond villains and Bond girls. Apparently, after the show had his done, I had to actually go back, watch movies, think about who we knew, who we didn't know. So I picked mine, and I picked mine much differently than I'm sure that you did. So I'm going to say that I'm simply going to say that I doubt that we will have the same either girls or guys.
I perhaps was on your frequency. I was feeling that vibe. I also have gone off the beaten track.
Okay. So this is going to be funny.
That we've avoided bumping into each other, and yet we might bump into each other. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Hang on. So, before we came on, you said in the green room that one of these villains is an acquaintance of your father.
My father knew this gentleman. He was a Broadway actor. And he was a Broadway actor that was in Live and Let Live. And he's actually one of my Bond villains that I picked because my dad knew him. And I remember we were at the movies and I looked up and I said, he looks familiar. And my dad's like, that's Uncle So-and-so. And I said, oh, okay, there you go. Uncle So-and-so. And there you have it.
So on that note, for a change, why don't you go first today?
I will go first. So my Bond villain, I can't even speak. Villain, thank you. I'm getting new teeth next week. Yes, it's just, of all you people, you're great. My Bond villain is Mr. Big from Live and Let Live.
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Live.
Die.
I looked at the credits. Live and Let Live.
Ooh.
Yeah, I checked. It's Live and Let Live. Mr. Big was the, and forgive my old school description, a big black guy that had this very deep, deep voice. And he used to do the 7-Up commercials in America and would laugh like, ha, 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 ha. And at the very end of Live and Let Live, he was sitting on the train laughing. And he was throughout the movie. Live and Let Live.
With the hat on. With the
hat. The voodoo doctor.
That voodoo doctor thing going, which has been copied many times. I think it's been copied quite a few times in different ways. I think he's the original scary voodoo villain.
Yes. So, but he was great. So my dad knew him. So I at a tribute to Mr. Big, I picked him. And the Bond girl I picked from You Only Live Twice was Akia, AKI. You Only Live Twice. I picked her.
Oh, really? I don't remember her. Remind me what she was doing in that.
I don't. She was just a hot Asian.
Seymour. I remember Jane Seymour was the sorceress.
Right. But that was, I didn't Live and Let Live. And a key I came from You Only Live Twice. So I picked a Bond girl from a whole nother movie to be with this villain, not the same movie, because I figured that would be more fun that way. So I've kind of done that throughout my thing. The Bond villain and the Bond girls are from all different movies, not the same, and from different Bonds.
To look at my list to see if there's a crossover yet. But anyway, not yet.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay, so we're good. There you go. So those are my two. Akita, I just thought I was looking through all the Bond girls, and there's this very attractive Asian girl, and I was like, I like Asian girls.
She drove the white. She drove the white Nissan.
That is her. That is her.
The Nissan that had the top chopped off because Sean Connery couldn't fit in that car, so they did a chop kind of thing.
Yes, they did. They did a chop.
Very good. That's a very cool movie. All the Bond movies are cool, apart from the last few ones. But anyway, that's a different gripe for a different show, I guess.
That's a whole nother show.
Favorite Bond
those
movie.
are, yep. Oh, favorite Bond movie. That'll take me a while. But those are the two that I started with: Mr. Big and Akia, from the two different movies.
Good opening gambit. Very tangential, out there. Very non-conformist, which I guess you're a non-conformist, and that's where you start. I will start with a classic Bond villain.
Okay.
A Bond villain upon whom in real life it was friends with Ian Fleming, was cousins with Ian Fleming, and some parts of Bond were based on him.
Okay.
And the actor is one of my favorite actors, Christopher Lee, and he played Francisco Scaramanga.
Ooh.
In The Man with the Golden Gun. Very elegant, very British, very abroad, and very ready to kill James Bond. In fact, his mission in the movie was to kill James Bond. Not because anyone asked him to, because he wanted to take on James Bond.
Right.
And I think as a dinner guest, you couldn't have anyone more elegant and more scary than Scaramanga. I mean, he had a gold lighter and a gold pen and a gold cigarette case that would all, like a transformer, pop apart and come together as a gun. Yep. And I thought that was my opening gambit.
That is old world elegance. That is just old school, old world elegance.
And he was living out my fantasy, which is to live on an island with a big sign that says "fuck off" to everyone. And so basically, I could live on that island and have a little sort of manservant running around making my dinner. And
Tattoo from Fantasy Island was his manservant.
And that also was a fantasy island. Scaramanga's lair was a bit of a fantasy island. And Tattoo. And I thought that with Francisco Scaramanga, one of my favorite Bond girls, for all the obvious reasons. Right. Straight out of Moonraker, Tiffany Case.
Okay.
Played by Jill St. John. I had to remember the name of the actress there. Tiffany Case was now this is where it gets troublesome, because I'm sure you're going to have some viewers who are going to object to certain terminology. This is old world Bond girls.
Right. Old world Bond girls.
Yeah, they had balls and was slightly sort of, hey, what's going on? And that kind of thing. And sort of they kind of led the story along because they were playing you and Bond was educating them through the journey. Yes. And I really enjoyed that. And Moonraker was one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up. I must have seen it about 100 times. Oh, wow. And found it fascinating. Anything at that time, sort of late 70s. Yep. I was a kid and everything to do with space. So Moonraker. No, sorry, not Moonraker. She was in Diamonds Are Forever. Sorry, I do apologize. That's right. Jill St. John, Diamonds Are Forever. Had that fake moon landing scene as well.
And that's where they stuck the cassette in her bum and he smacked it at the end. Remember that? Yeah. So before you guys start putting comments in there that were old curmudgeons and we don't know, we appreciate the beauty of sexism back in the 60s and 70s. And we know today that it wouldn't be tolerated, even though we would prefer it to be tolerated. But that was a wonderful movie with Jill St. John. I love Jill St. John. She was great.
Yeah, these are now, these movies are more than 60-ish years old.
Yeah.
They're sort of like, even they're older than I am. I'm getting there. I'm beginning to get there. But it is cinematic history at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a recording of what people thought and how people behaved at that time. And I think it's perfectly cool. We read Roman history. Roman history was full of great debauchery, etc., etc.
Yep.
Anything. So anyway, but to me, that was a very sexy time. And I think this Bond girl would bring that sexiness to the table. The one eye on her and the other eye on everyone else, that kind of thing.
Yep. I like that. That was very cool. Very sexy. Very sexy.
So
Jill St. John. I had
suave and sexy together. Suave.
I see that. I like that. Yeah, you went for like really old school.
I'm trying to fill the gaps here.
Well, so my next two, I'm definitely not any of these because they're all women. So from Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay.
My villain is Bambi and Thumper.
Oh,
the female bodyguard duo.
Excellent choice. I was going to go in that direction, but I had a sneaky feeling you may have gone for them. Which you did.
Yeah, I did.
So are you going for them as a pair?
Because the three-way is the best. I mean, because you want to have two bodyguards. Sorry, but yeah. So I went for them as a pair because I thought they were interesting, and there was a white one and a black one, so they was ahead of their time.
Ebony and Ivory.
Before Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson figured out how to screw that up. So that was good. And then for the girl from You Only Live Twice, I did Kissy Suzuki. There's a Japanese theme going on here. There's a bit of an Asiatic theme going on with you, isn't there? I got a whole.
I think you were in there.
I get a lot of postcards from Vietnam saying hi, Dad. I deny it all, of course. But yeah, so I went with Kissy Suzuki from You Only Live Twice because once again, absolutely gorgeous female. That was a strong female and not just typical Bond girl that's like, I'm helpless, I can't do that. It's like, so all my Bond girls are like, they got balls, and my Bond villains. So
yes, that has different context these days.
True. Well,
there we have it.
They're not late. She wasn't a lady boy.
And from that part of the world, there is a chance.
Yeah, I was going to say she wasn't a lady boy as far as we know. So we'll see.
So who we got right now? We've got Mr. Big.
Yep.
We've got
Ikea, AKI Ikea.
Yeah.
We've got
Scaramanga.
Scaramanga and Tiffany Case.
And we've got Bambi and Thumper.
Oh my God. Yes, we have Bambi and Thumper. I feel like the Disney movie is about to start.
There we go.
And we have Kissy Suzuki.
Kissy Suzuki.
Kissy Suzuki was the Bond girl for the Bambi and Thumper duo that I picked.
Three. You sneak three in there, one way or the other.
Yeah, I gotta have my threes. So there you go.
Okay.
My turn. Now it's your turn, my friend.
I could not pick this Bond villain. It wasn't going to happen. That I would not pick him. Now it's a male Bond villain. Most of them were.
Okay.
So and this one managed to get into at least 2 Bond movies.
Really?
He got into Moonraker, which is my favorite Bond movie, by the way. My favorite Bond movie is Moonraker.
Right. You said that.
Yeah.
Wait, is this Donald Pleasant?
No.
Oh,
okay. Pleasance wasn't in Moonraker. It was anyway. So this Bond villain, Jaws.
Jaws. I remember him. Yep.
So 8 foot, 9 foot tall, metal teeth.
Yep.
Try to bite Roger Moore on the neck many a time.
Yep. And that was off screen.
Certainly one of the most action-driven Bond villains there.
Yes.
But I understood in real life one of the nicest people on the planet.
Right.
And actually, I saw him in an advert on British TV in the 80s where he was eating a cereal, shredded wheat, and a little boy walks past, and Richard Keel, the actor, is eating this cereal, puts the spoon in his mouth and bites the spoon off in half as well. And wow, those things, they leave lasting memories. So Jaws, I think, would be a very intimidating Bond villain, just by stature.
Yeah.
But that smile, that metallic smile, would put everyone in their place.
Yes.
And so,
but you know what's funny? I almost picked him, but I didn't, because I said that's more. There's a couple villains I almost picked, but I was like, no, I think you're going to go that route. So I was right on that one. So I'm glad I didn't pick him.
I think I stayed clear of a villain that I would love to have picked, but I thought was too obvious a choice, and I'll come to him right at the end.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So along with Jaws, I have the aforementioned lady Jane Seymour as Solitaire from
yes, I remember her.
Charming, absolutely beautiful. Again, I'm going for the Bond girls that I think deserve to be up there as Bond girls.
Right.
Alluring to the screen. There was an entertainment value of that. You had true beauty on the screen, and she was mystical and mysterious and vulnerable and dangerous at the same time. You know, a combination of character traits.
Right.
And she was very magical. So I think sitting at a dinner table, she'd be reading our tarot cards and telling us, you're going to die, you're going to live. You're going to die, you're going to live. It's that kind of thing. So I think
an interesting dinner that would be. Yeah, could you imagine? Like, you over there, you're not going to make dinner. Enjoy it. So,
you're not going to get to the cigars at the end.
Right. You should smoke your cigar now. No, you won't make the end. Then that movie where Jane played the tarot card, she got the tarot card wrong, and then the guy with the claws had the James Bond's pinky in the thing, and he was going to chop it off if it was wrong, but didn't chop it off for whatever reason, because I guess Roger Moore needed all 5 hands. I remember that. Oh, there you go. Very good.
Sorry, one of the problems of being on the phone is the messages keep coming down, and they're all Bond.
That's okay. Of course they are.
Okay, your number 3 villain.
Oh, so a threesome again. Pan, Ho, and Jenny Flex from A View to a Kill. An Asian and a white chick.
I remember them. They're the ones that welcomed James Bond into the villa. Am I right?
Yes.
Very beautiful looking women, actually, as far as I remember. Mm-hmm. That was that thing, sort of that beauty and danger goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Which is what I think Austin Powers also drew on. Mike Myers drew on that as well. It's beautiful women who are very dangerous. It makes the danger higher.
But he went to like the extreme of it, which was great. So when he did it, it was hysterical. When Bond did it, it was sort of like supposed to be like, oh my God. But I thought Pan-Ho and Jenny Flex from A View to a Kill was a very interesting duo, because I figured they're Bond villains that nobody really thinks about. You know, they all think about the guy with the hat and the guy that does this and this, that. But I was like, let's go with people that people aren't going to think, like Mr. Big, like, you know, and yours, of course, Scaramouche. I feel that's a Queen song. But yeah, that was like, that's a beauty. That's old world. Mine are just like hot chicks that can kill you.
Up to now, I don't think we've gone for any villain or Bond girl more recently than perhaps the early 80s.
That is true. And I think my next
indication of it's a generational thing.
Well, I've seen the Bond movies with Daniel Craig and Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan. And the girls there are very nice, but they lack savoir-faire. We're back where these movies were made in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, if you will. The girls had a little savoir-faire to them, which I thought was excellent. And to me, that's really important, because anybody can be just a hot chick on screen, but you have to carry yourself. So like your Jane Seymour or Jill St. John, in their prime, back in the day, they had a certain je ne sais quoi, right? They were like, I would want to hang out with them. Some of the newer people I see, and I'm like, eat a hamburger. I don't want to hang out with you. So it's a very different mentality, I think. For me, that is. I don't know. I could be wrong.
No. It's a different world, and it's a different feeling. And I think the reason why these characters have stuck with us is perhaps because Bond movies, perhaps when I saw them and perhaps when you saw them, were more significant part of our media fabric. Now it's just a movie. There's movies come out. Great. That time, the Bond movie is about to come out, and that was a bigger.
Correct.
It was a bigger thing. It was a bit, and also, when these Bond movies played again, as you would call reruns on TV, and for us they would play like every holiday season during the summer or during the winter. You'll see, it was during Christmas. It was standard in the early '80s that 6 or 7 Bond movies would play throughout December. And that was a great way of just refreshing and everything. And it was just more part of our fabric. Now they're sort of 2 a penny, or it'll come and go. It's that kind of thing.
Between Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV, and all of them, all I have to do is type into Google search James Bond movie, and it'll tell me where they're all playing, whether I want to pay for them or whether I want to watch them for free. So it loses some of its luster. But it was fun to do the research because I was like, I got to go watch some of these to see what this is all about again, because I haven't seen them in 100 years. And some are just funny. Like, the Roger Moore ones, I think are the funniest James Bond.
That's right.
Sean Connery was funny with double entendres, but Roger Moore, they especially made it kind of almost comedic, almost like the Mike Myers, Austin Powers. And then when you got to Pierce Brosnan, funny, but not as they tried, but didn't get there. Timothy Dalton, like him as an actor, just didn't like him as Bond. And Daniel Craig, all of his was very serious. So there wasn't a lot of funny.
With Roger Moore, very specifically, I thought violence was always just incidental. It wasn't a major. With Sean Connery, violence was part of the character. It was the danger. But with Roger Moore, it was a comedy-ish character. I found him. I won't say hilarious, but it was so amusing. You had a smile on your face. You weren't laughing out. You were supposed to be smiling. And danger was just an incidental thing that he would have to throw in as a secret agent just to maneuver a particular situation. But he was much, on reflection, and I've had to change my view on all the Bonds. Every decade I changed my view. I think Roger Moore was pretty cool. I mean, that was a cool and a very different Bond.
He was different than any Bond played. Sean Connery and the guy that he played on His Majesty's Secret Service, the guy who played the very first Bond, right, Lazenby and Connery, they played it different. Roger Moore, for 20 years or whatever, took the franchise into, like, everybody can watch it. And Pierce Brosnan, I think, tried to be too much like Roger Moore. And Timothy Dalton, I'm not sure what he was trying to do with it, but it just didn't do it. And then Daniel Craig, I think, kind of took a little bit of all of them. But on Daniel Craig's Bond, to your point, it's much more violent, much more. It's not about. I did like the Daniel Craig Bond because Daniel Craig, they made Bond to be human, not this infallible, egocentric male pig.
I remember it was Casino Royale. That was his first movie. And I remember at the beginning of Casino Royale, Bond getting beaten up. I think he's having a fight with an assassin in the toilets or something like that. And it was very visceral. Sort of like, this is a bit different.
Yes. But it was good. And I mean, I like the Daniel Craig Bond, but it would be like, to my point, it's a tie between Roger Moore and Sean Connery. I think Sean Connery, because he was Bond to everybody, and then Roger Moore and all these guys fill in. But Daniel Craig's up there. Pierce Brosnan, I don't know where I would rank him, but Timothy Dalton, sorry, Timothy, you're kind of the last Bond, just because you only were in 2 movies and you just didn't do it.
Bond number 1 is Sean Connery for you. Best Bond ever.
Yes, best Bond ever is Sean Connery. Roger Moore second.
I'm going controversial.
Okay.
Overall, Pierce Brosnan.
Really?
A good blend either way. Weren't quite sure if he was going to go comedy.
Right. Yep. And we've lost him. I'm sure. There he's back.
The modern telephony will not cease. If I get lost again, it's because it's telephony.
That's because Pierce Brosnan is calling to thank you. You're welcome, Pierce. So
I think that was it. It was.
Okay.
Part three.
Oh, and then Pam Bonvivants from License to Kill. the cute little white girl with the short little bob. She was very cute. I liked her. She had a nice look to her.
That's true, but you have to choose your third villain first.
I did. My third villain was Panho and Jenny Flex.
Oh, I see. They were the villains, and the girl is.
Yes. As Pam Bonavas was Licensed to Kill was my Bond girl.
You somehow managed to get 8 dinner guests where 6 were invited.
I know, because I added some doubles. Yeah.
Very good. That's
Well, and I added, and the extra guests are hot chicks. So please don't send me something that chicks is a bad thing.
So you've got 7 Bond girls / villains and 1 Mr.
Right.
Big.
Yeah, I'm on Mr. Big because I like his voice.
Very cool.
And he was a friend of the family, and I thought that was very cool. And I actually got to meet him several times as a kid, and he was just a nice guy and very gregarious. But his voice was captivating.
Did he do the scary laugh with you?
Yes, he did the ha 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 laugh. But that was his 7-Up laugh. He did that on 7-Eleven or 7-Up commercials, and he did that for the Bond movie. But he was a very famous Broadway actor. And I thought, and that's how my family knew him. And when I got to meet him, I was like, cool. And it didn't dawn on me in the movie who he was, because when you know them in the real world compared to a film, it's just sort of like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh yeah, wait. It's like, wait, I know you. And it's sort of like it was very cool. So it was very nice to actually meet some of these people and be like, oh, very nice. So it was very cool. So I was very happy about that. So yeah, it was very cool.
Good choice.
Thank you very much. And I figured you'd like that. And then I figured also none of these would be people that people would think of. So I didn't, like, to your point, I didn't want to go with like the guy who threw the hat. I didn't want to go with Donald Pleasant. I wanted to go with people like.
I really wanted to go for them. I really wanted to go for them, and I didn't either. So
because my point was sort of like, if I go for them, that's just everybody. And I'm like, let's go for people that you have to actually go back now and think about, and or go look at the movie again to go, who or what was that? So to me, that's what these people represented. And to me, it was like a little smile on my face when I was picking them. Kind of like your Christopher Plummer or Christopher Lee character. I'm like, I saw him and I was like, he would be good, but who else would be there? And that's where I came up with those.
You went for the intellectual choices. Am I right?
Okay.
Non-conformist intellectual choices that will make interesting dinner guests. I'm going for the nostalgic stuff, which brings me on to my third villain. And my third villain is, again, sort of like from the 80s Bond movies, the Roger Moore movie, View to Kill, Max Zorin, played by Christopher Walken.
That's right.
And Christopher Walken's an interesting character, however you slice or dice it, but Max Zorin was deadly interesting. And I wanted him at that time. Actually, the way that I thought about my villains was, which 3 villains could I pair up and would have very contrasting facets to them, and hence that's why I went for the Scaramanga, the Max Zorin, and Jaws, sort of a henchman there in the middle between the two, keeping them apart. So Max Zorin, primarily because he's smiling all the time, and yet he's deadly. He's ruthless killer, ultra rich, and wants to take over the whole world. The classic Bond villain wants to take the whole world.
But who doesn't love Christopher Walken, though?
No one. There's no one who doesn't love Christopher Walken. There's no one who doesn't do it. Christopher Walken. I can't do Christopher Walken.
I can't do it either, so I won't even try.
I'm not going to embarrass myself on this channel. But I thought that was that's perhaps my 3 favorite villains. I'm actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to mention the villain I would have loved to throw in there, but I didn't.
Please. Okay.
Auric Goldfinger.
Yes. Okay.
Because that's the most definitive Bond movie, Goldfinger. I mean, in every single way you cut it. But I thought you might pick Auric Goldfinger, and I thought it might be the easy. It might be the easy way. But I cannot leave this without mentioning Auric Goldfinger. Perhaps my favorite Bond villain. What am I expected to do? You're expected to die, Mr. Bond. That is the line. and Bond's gonna get cut
And
up.
my guy that I wanted to would go in the long of or Goldfinger was Odd Job, right?
Job,
With the hat.
right. That's right.
And I've wanted to again. That was just, and I mean, and I love or a Goldfinger was great. Not Odd Job was great, but to me they were just too easy. It's sort of like that's too easy. Like when someone says, "Who's your favorite Bond thing?" These are people that people just jump out immediately with because it's just too easy. And I was like, let's pick somebody that's not easy that you really have to think through. But honorary mention to those guys.
But I think that's almost, even though it's very early on, I think that's the zenith of Bond movies. I mean, from the music score, from Shirley Bassey singing Goldfinger, from the images I still have in my head of this woman lying in bed dead, covered in gold leaf. The villain, the sidekick or job, Sean Connery, Aston Martin, DB5, sweeping hill. I mean, what's it not got? It's got everything.
And he shoots the guy out of the tree like just nonchalantly, like boom. That was the best. So
that was Roger Moore in View to a Kill.
Really? Because I thought it was Sean Connery when they were doing the thing. No, okay.
That was Roger Moore in View to a Kill, where he's playing golf with Drax, and he turns around and just shoots the guy in the tree.
But Sean Connery and Goldfinger was shooting shotguns with Goldfinger, and I thought they shot someone out of the tree.
Goldfinger, Goldfinger, the golf game was where Goldfinger was trying to win and cheated, and James Bond had his caddy steal the ball and return. So he cheated him out of a cheat. Any mistakes? Anyone watching this and would love to comment,
let us know.
Let us know where we're making all these mistakes. That'd be a good one because I want someone to put me right on these things. I'm not a humongous James Bond fan, but the earlier James Bonds just have left such a indelible me.
Which is great. All right, now you got your Bond girl
accompanying. Now I'm gonna get the name wrong, but I don't remember the name of the Bond girl as much as I remember the actress's name. The actress was Barbara Bach in The Spy.
I remember Barbara Bach.
Gorgeous woman. I think she played. I've written it down, and I can't even read my own handwriting anymore. Anya Amasra.
Good for you.
And I just wanted the table loaded with the best looking Bond girls that I remember from that 70s, 80s genre. And I thought, and she married Ringo Starr.
I was going to say, she's Ringo Starr's wife, Barbara Bach. Yeah, she's Ringo Starr's wife.
Didn't he do well? Didn't he do well?
He did well. And then they played in a movie called they played in a prehistoric movie together. I remember that movie where Ringo and she play a caveman and she's his cave woman. They played the movie together. I remember it didn't do well for obvious reasons, but it was a cute movie to watch them run around and do their thing. But when you're a Beatle, you can do what you want to do, I guess.
You've got enough money to throw away, which I guess he did on that occasion.
There you go.
Those are my three pairings. And so we've got 8 + 6, 14 people at this table.
Wow.
Where normally
larger than usual.
Huh?
Yes. But I said we have a little more than usual at this table. So, but that's okay. Because
in going through these Bond villains and Bond girls, I was reminded of the games that we used to play as teenagers, even as we used to pick our favorite Bond movies, favorite Bond car, favorite Bond sequence, or favorite Bond stunt. Oh, it goes off in many, many different directions. Okay.
Yeah. That was nice.
Favorite Bond theme.
Oh, the favorite Bond theme. The Spy Who Loved Me.
The Spy Who Loved Me. Nobody Does It Better. Nobody does
it better. I think the music is why I think I like it. Nobody does it better, and nobody does it better. I think because of the music. Even all the music and all the movies are great. Carly Simon. Nobody does it better. Yes, I think I think the music in that, the score was great. I think the score in most of them are great, but there's just something about nobody does it better. Nobody does it quite the way you do. And I'm like, that's a beauty. And Carly Simon's voice, you can't not like.
Superb. I'm off again with Bond. I'm always changing my mind. but currently the phase I'm going through is a movie we haven't mentioned. The theme song to that is my favorite, and that's Goldeneye. Sang by
that's
Tina
right,
Turner.
Goldeneye.
Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tina Turner is sort of like has gone across generations, but Goldeneye was
Right.
great, absolutely great.
Wow.
And the other song I love is License to Kill. Again, late 80s movie,
Yep.
Timothy Dalton.
Yes.
So I haven't gone back to the classics for this, although they're all pretty amazing, sort of from the 60s and
That's
70s.
true.
Amazing. Nancy Sinatra did one of the songs as well. I think that was for Dr. No. Am I right?
I think so. We'd have to fact check that one.
And then there's From Russia with Love by Matt Monroe.
With Russia from Love, that was really good. From Russia from Love, that was a great one. Their music is always good.
No singing, no
impression. We won't sing. No, yeah,
the cigars and Scotch and rum and things like that.
More Scotch and we'll sing. But From Russia to Love was good. They're just all, it's funny. Up until a certain point, they were all good. And then all of a sudden, it just became into the Broccoli family. I get it. You got to make money. But they kind of like, it's just like, the latest ones are like, let's just get them out there. Let's get them out there. Let's get them out there and do. Like the last Bond movie with Daniel Craig where he died. Sorry, spoiler alert. It was a very good Bond movie.
You mean
there was no memorable music?
Crap Bond movie, apart from the first
where he died. Yeah, I was sort of like, oh, okay. I don't, and this is just me being a Bond fan from being a kid in the 60s. I don't want my Bond to have feelings. I like that my Bonds, my Sean Connerys, my Roger Moore, and the rest of them treated women, and I know this is terrible to say, as objects, and they used them accordingly. Where Daniel Craig had feelings, and I'm like, I don't want you to have feelings. I want you to be that Sean Connery kind of Bond, where a woman is just an object, and when you're done with her, you place her on a shelf and you go do whatever you need to go do. Because to me, that's the epitome of a spy, because if you will.
Because men don't really have feelings, and that's the way it is. And no, there's no irony in what I said. We are not meant to show our weaknesses, generally speaking.
That's right.
We got into this ridiculous culture of, you must show your feelings. No, you
must
go in a toilet and cry on your own if you're that upset. Never let them never let them see you bleeding. Never let them see you crying.
You cry. That's right. That's true. That's true. And people today, in today's society, because everybody is so woke and politically correct, we just spoke about this on the Lost Dollar Business Club. That's BS. It's like I miss, and I get comments all the time on our shorts and our shows. People go, "Oh, he's just an old guy that doesn't know anything." That's true. I mean, I was here when the Earth cooled. And I'm good with that. And dinosaurs were our pets. And I remember fire when it started. I got all that. But there's something to be said about the old world, the old school, the dressing up,
stoicism,
the savoir-faire of it.
Stoicism, charm, charisma.
Right.
As the British would say, stiff upper lip. Which is very Bond.
Or savoir-faire.
That is sort of like it's a promotion of British values abroad, isn't it? That's the whole point. Whether it's an Aston Martin or James Bond or a cigar or a drink, that was it was those British. And I never got why they went to BMW with Pierce Brosnan when Bond is British, BMW is German. Sponsorship.
Well, no, I understand the sponsorship, and now they went back to the Aston. And Aston, wonderful car, kinda, when it works. And I'm kind of like, there's something about it. Like I love Aston Martin. There's a new one out.
DB12
that they only made.
The
DB2, but the one I looked at was the one that they only made like 300 of. And I drove it. I loved it. But the interior, there's plastic. There's some plastic in it. And I was like, for this amount of money, it needs to be steel, metal. It needs to be something other than plastic. I want that Rolls Royce feeling in my car. So it's like, if you can't match Rolls Royce for the money,
that was the Ford ownership phase, and
I'm talking about today. I'm talking about literally 3 months ago.
They've got that little,
I know, it's sad.
What's it called? Baggage.
Baggage. You need to get rid of the baggage.
Plastic baggage.
Plastic baggage. You need to get rid of that, and really, if they can really make Aston Martin what it's supposed to be, which is really that elegant Grand Tourer. Oh, That would be appealing.
You know, I mean, this is often said, yeah. Not Aston Martin. James Bond in the books drove a Bentley. No, it's been said so many times. He drove a Bentley. I've never seen James Bond in a movie drive a Bentley, and he should. They should. I think they should at least acknowledge that and go in that direction at some stage.
Right. The best thing the closest they came to a Bentley was a BMW, because it's the same owner. VW.
Same owner, the VW. Yes,
yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
And it's just the same chassis, and they put them on the same chassis too. Really, that's the closest thing you're going to come to.
There's been so many hybrid owners. I'm kind of losing track of who owns what. Ford doesn't own Aston Martin anymore. Aston Martin put Mercedes-Benz AMG engines in their cars now.
Yes, which is a positive.
Mixed match.
Yeah.
So my hand's moving a bit.
The nice thing about
keep up.
Right, but the nice thing about that, at least, is the AMG engine is a great engine because it's handmade. It's not made by a robot. It's made by Hans in Stuttgart, and you know you're going to get a good engine. It's just the other things that the Aston
were handmade engines as well, but they had issues.
Yeah, well, you know, because if they were made on a Monday, they were just getting back from the pub, and if they were made on a Friday, they were worried about going to the pub. So there were issues.
The Germans do it in a different way, huh? It's more technical.
The Germans do it. They've got a guy behind you with a whip that goes, "You will make it right," boom, and they're like, "Yes, I will make it right." You know, and they put their name on it. So you know, if they're going back to the 30s and 40s. If there's a problem, you know who to go see.
Track that person down and give them a whipping.
Right. So especially for the money you pay. But yeah, so I'm hoping that the new Bond, I don't know who he is, goes back to more the Sean Connery Bond, with the savoir-faire of Roger Moore. That would be a Bond, because Roger Moore had that savoir-faire because his wife was Italian and Roger was very British, but he had that savoir-faire about him. Sort of Pierce Brosnan, but not quite like Roger Moore. And Daniel Craig had the manlyhood, but Sean Connery was everything. And if you can combine that into the new Bond, I think you have a Bond.
No one ever is going to hit that Connery. I mean, it's going to be a miracle if anyone hits the Connery kind of level of actor screen presence. I don't think Bond movies are like that anymore. Bond movies are much more commercial than they ever used to be. They're always commercial, but I think they kind of lost their way a little bit, to be very honest with you.
I'm hoping that they find their way back now because they can.
The last good Bond movie actually that I saw was Skyfall. I think Skyfall was quite. It was a long, dragged out movie, but it had its moments, you know, grittiness and all that kind of stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the factory today, Universal, I think, or Warner Brothers, whoever does it with them, it's just push them out every 2 years. Like, we got to get a Bond movie. And to me, it'd be more like, let's take our time and write a really good script, and let's make it a Bond movie, like a Bond movie, you know, with the goofiness and the this and the that. Because even Sean Connery's Bond movies had all those cute little tech toys that were just like, oh my God, like, you know, they're really cool. And then over the years they'd have it. And then Daniel Craig didn't really have any cool things. It was just acting, which is great. But I think you need to bring out all of it. But then again, I'm not a film critic, so what do I know? But we'll see what they decide they're going to do.
We're all film critics. Anyone who watches a movie is a film critic in some way or another, aren't they?
Well, we don't get paid. Let me put it this way. I don't get paid. We don't get paid to be film critics. They just come to the show to listen to us.
Which gives you a little bit more freedom to say what you want to say, actually. That's
true.
No, as you would say, as to quote you, no pussying out on this.
Yeah, we're very blunt. Yeah, which is good. And a lot of the comments, and I want to thank everybody for listening or watching on the podcast, or listening on the podcast, or watching here on YouTube. A lot of the comments we get are just that. It's like, you guys pretty much say it straight. We really like it, and they enjoy that. And now that we are back into a point where we can have cigars and Scotch on the show, our cigars and Scotch fans will be very happy that we're doing that as well, I think. So next week, what are you thinking?
I had a thought last week about this week. And then I was going to suggest something to you.
Sure.
Going in the Bond direction was kind of like straying into one of my favorite sort of like cinematic themes.
Sure.
I'm wondering, can we push this as far as possible before coming to reality the week thereafter? So
sure.
Here's a proposition.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm the one coming up with all these propositions. You need to come up with it.
It's your show.
You're not next week. The week thereafter is
Me?
squarely on you. So I'm going to have my fun moment.
Fritz the Cat, the 1972 porn. I want to know your favorite scene in 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. The cartoon porn from Fritz the Cat.
How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you read my mind? This is absolutely, I don't get it. You read my mind.
Really? You want to do Fritz the Cat?
Into exactly the theme I was going to suggest.
Go ahead. What's the theme for next week?
Cartoon characters.
Oh, I love it. Fritz the Cat's my cartoon character. I'm definitely using him. So there you go.
What is going on here?
Okay.
Really? You did this last week?
Yep.
Don't know if you did it the week before, but you've done it again this week. Almost the last sentence you say before I announce is on point. And there is no conversation beforehand. There is no like, there's no.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought cartoon characters is because there's a cartoon character that's stuck in my head, and I wanted somehow to introduce this cartoon character. So that's why I'm suggesting the theme next week: cartoon characters, any genre, any time, but it's got to be a cartoon character.
And just so we all know, for next week, Fritz the Cat will be honorary mention since I brought him up.
Yeah,
but in my mind,
yes,
right. But in my mind, I've already got my cartoon characters picked because when I was a kid, there were these 10 cartoon characters, and I've got them picked. So even if you pick one of mine, I've got another list to go through. I love. This is a beauty.
It's a good one, huh? Again.
This is great.
And then, as a suggestion, as a suggestion part B, the week thereafter, you're coming up with a theme.
Okay.
And let's go back to reality.
Okay.
Thereafter.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. No, whatever theme. Listen, these are just suggestions that you could take and roll them up and put them in a bin if you feel like. Yeah. But I'm enjoying talking to you about basically my media / history journey, and I'm invoking all these characters because these are my favorites, if you like. And if it was just left to me, we just talk movie stars and movie characters for the next 6 months. But we need to divert from that.
Well, so, mine, I already know the topic. That's just so this will give you time to start thinking. It's going to be world leaders. That's going to be our topic. World leaders.
You've done world leaders. You've done world rulers.
Rulers we've done, but leaders are different.
World leaders.
Okay. Leaders are different because what world leader will we want to have? Because remember, and you can go back to the beginning of time to wherever, and you can use the Fable book, you can use the Quran, you can use the Torah, you can use whatever.
I see where you're taking this.
World leader.
I see where you're taking this. Moses will make an appearance.
Maybe, but Moses, as much as Moses can make an appearance, maybe not, because I don't know if he was a world leader or he was a leader. There's a difference, and I'm thinking like I in my mind for world leaders, I've got like who I would like. Okay, you to me would be a world leader because you did something that influenced the world.
Actually, I won't say controversial, but this prophets.
Oh, prophets are good. Prophets. All right. Now, for the Muslim community, right. I was going to say, for the Muslim community, we're just going to say Muhammad, yes, would be a dinner guest, but because this is a Scotch and cigar show, he will get honorary mention, so we do not offend anybody while we're having Scotch and cigars, right? We don't want to.
No. That was the prophets was a throwaway thought.
Okay.
That was a throwaway thought. But I've said it out loud, and so it's
So world leaders / prophets are good because then that would bring in, if you will, the Moseses and other people that you could pick, because then that's a whole kit and caboodle of who we can pick and choose from. Then,
my goodness, if we could actually have dinner, games aside, really, if we were to really get in the zone, which 3 prophets? My goodness, that is a very philosophical kind of question.
Okay, then you know what? In 2 weeks, instead of doing world leaders, we're going to do prophets.
Oh goodness, that's
That's going to take you 2 weeks to figure that one out because there's so many to
It's
pick
going to
from.
take me the rest of my life to figure that one out.
All right, well, in 2 weeks you have to come up with some guys. So, but we'll just say once again, for the Muslims that are watching, we don't want to offend Muhammad. Yes, he'll get honorary mention.
I'm a Muslim.
I know you are, but will we offend them by smoking a cigar and having scotch and talking about them?
Well, I don't know so much about cigar, but even when it comes to alcohol was prohibited after the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
And so it's acknowledged that, wine and all these things were part of the, ecosystem, if you feel like it. But
all right.
we can have a very balanced view on that. We can have a very serious discussion, but I was hoping to have a lighthearted discussion.
Well, we will have a lighthearted discussion. Trust me. I already know the guys I'm picking. So he's gone again, kids. His phone died or it rang up. There he's back. Hold on 1 second. There you go. Hold on. Listen, Muhammad's calling. Muhammad's calling. I understand how it goes. I'm waiting for Moses shows me a phone call.
Moses.
Holy Moses. There you go. But this is going to be a very interesting then show in 2 weeks. So next week is cartoon characters, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. So that's that will be the 20th of April. And on the 27th, we are going to do prophets or / world leaders that we want to bring to the table.
Cartoon characters. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Even I can get very philosophical about cartoon characters too.
Okay.
I think it's the drink that's taking over right now. This is certain.
Now, the best part about cartoon characters are that you can go back to wherever, and cartoon characters can also be comic book characters. So there's a ton that you can pick.
They can be. Hang on, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. So you can
go.
So
you're saying cartoon / comic book, or comic book characters that went. Should we just go for the cartoon, animated?
Anything. Right.
Yes.
Well, most comic books now have become either a cartoon or a movie. So they're cartoon. Even if you look at like Iron Man, he was a cartoon character that became a movie. Marvel, right? Yeah. Marvel, DC Comics, they've all become movies. So technically those cartoon characters now are cartoon characters, if you will, just live action, or they actually have them in cartoons. So there's tons that you can pick from. So I think that's going to be an interesting show. I already have some in my mind that are cartoons from when I was a kid that nobody's going to remember who they are. So I'm very much looking forward to that. You will. And pretty close. I mean, I'm 17 billion years old, so I've been around. So
I'm 16 billion years old. So
we're close.
What's an era between you and I? An eon.
That's right.
Between you and I.
That's right. Well, it's only time, as Einstein would say. It doesn't exist.
It's relative.
It's all relative. Well, everybody, thank you for watching. I can't wait till next week. So and you were smoking what? Because it's almost gone. What were you smoking? That's almost gone.
It's the Juan Lopez Exclusivo Libano.
There you go.
I've never smoked the cigar. It was sent to me by a dear friend in Saudi Arabia, and I'm going to have to give him some feedback. And I will say that I had a lovely YouTube session while smoking it. So let's see. And it's now recorded for posterity. So put it up. Let's get it out there.
And this was a beautiful cane that I had, and it's a nice little morning smoke. Not too heavy, not too light. Just the perfect amount of cigar for a nice little morning chat. And then next week I have to figure out what a cartoon character will smoke, and that may be a Fuentes.
No, and as I was saying to you in the green room before we came on, now all your neighbors know who wears the pants in the family. This chap is sitting outside his house first thing in the morning with a tuxedo, smoking a cigar, having a scotch, and he looks very relaxed. And your kudos level is way up there.
They're all going to applaud me when I walk down the street in my sweats.
You should be sitting there wearing sunglasses. Actually,
I should have done that, but because we call it the outside studio is covered, I don't have to. But in the afternoon, I do. The inside studio, the rule is no cigars or scotch. Scotch, yes. Cigars, no. And it's cool that so everybody knows on Wednesday we were supposed to do the show, but because of a holiday, our esteemed colleague here we pushed the show to Friday, which was a good thing because on Wednesday it was pouring rain outside. So I would have just had scotch and not a cigar. So it all worked out.
You would have been the Daniel Craig Bond, was a little bit more sort of rain, a little bit more realism.
Right.
But today you are the Roger Moore Bond,
Roger Moore, Sean
Sean
Connery,
Connery, Bright
all
Sun,
those guys.
no
Yep.
makeup on.
Well, if I have makeup on, then we really have a problem. I've seen me; it's not pretty. So, but my friend, it is always good. It's always a pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it. I look forward to our next Saturday show. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And like I said, you can catch our podcast, Two Old Farts Making Noises, anywhere you get your podcast. And if you look at what Riz has underneath him, you can catch his cigar stories, which are done in the 1930, 1940 style of the Fat Man, the Orson Welles, and the Maltese Fountain, which are very cool. I watch those all the time. So I enjoy those tremendously.
And what I enjoy is no matter how many fights we have on this channel, we always sign off like gentlemen to each other. I love this.
That's the best. That's old school, my friend. It's old school.
It's been my
It's
pleasure
good to see you. Always a pleasure. See everybody next week. Cheers.